Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the third edition of CoinCast on Crypto Traders News and Crypto Traders Group here on Facebook. We are joined today by developer from Vertcoin. I'm going to probably butcher this for the Dutch in the room, but it's Gert Jaap Glasbergen.
Oh, that's close. That's very good.
Thank you. I do my best. So I'm Kurt Wookert Jr. From Crypto Traders Pro. We're going to talk about Vertcoin for the next 40 or 45 minutes. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
For sure. Thanks for joining us.
Sure.
Let's start with super fundamental in like 1 minute. What is Vertcoin? What does Vertcoin mean to you?
Yeah, so Vertcoin is a digital currency similar to Bitcoin and Litecoin. With one key distinction is that our core value lies with decentralization. So anyone should be capable of mining Vertcoin profitably. And how we do that is we resist the centralization of these large mining corporations that usually mine with specialized hardware. So there is no specialized hardware for mining Vertcoin at this time. So you can only mine it with your graphics card in your computer. And what we see is that this ensures sort of a healthy mining economy, where specialized hardware is usually difficult to obtain, and it's also expensive, and it's very difficult to recoup your investment. So by ensuring that people can mine it on their commodity hardware that you can buy at every local computer store, we try to combat this centralization that we see in Bitcoin and Litecoin.
Cool. It's great. What does the Vert in Vertcoin stand for?
Yeah, so I had to rely on some of the cultivated stories in the community because a lot of them go around. But what I understood is that Vert is the French word for green. And green is obviously the color of money. Okay. So that's where Vertcoin came from.
Okay, cool. That's very cool. I like that. So what's your background? How did you end up being a developer for Vertcoin?
Yeah, so I've been software developer for, most of my life. I started my professional career about 20 years back with a software company. So I've been developing software ever since, mostly on administrative systems for governments. And recently I spent some of my spare time on the internet looking for ways to get involved in blockchain development. It's been a long interest of mine, but I've never, gotten the chance to actually, get involved in the development side of blockchain.
Sure.
And so I started with a small scale mining operation. So we bought a couple of miners and we started mining. And it turns out that the economy of mining and the fact that we actually bought a specialized hardware for mining Bitcoin, mining Sure. Litecoin, and it turns out that it took you have to return your investment so quickly, otherwise it's just a piece of junk sitting in your server room. And I started looking into projects that find that same problem and try to come up with a solution for it. And that's when I found Vertcoin. And I basically joined the community. It was a lot smaller back then, although it's not that long ago. It was around, May of 2017.
Okay.
And I started talking with the lead developer, James. And I told him, look, I'm an experienced developer, just a blockchain rookie. So I want to get involved in blockchain development, and if you guys are looking for somebody to help out, I'm here to help. Cool. So I started on a couple of small scale projects like paper wallet generators, and we built this peer-to-peer trading site, the local Vertcoins, similar to local Bitcoins.
Sure.
And so that's how I started, and I gradually involve myself in the other developments going on at Vertcoin.
Sure, very cool. You mentioned that the the hardware limitations are very small, so it's democratized mining. If I were to set up a rig, can I do like multiple GPUs? Is that the only limitation? I can basically just not ASIC mining, but could I go buy 50 GPUs and mine Vertcoin that way from home if I wanted to?
Yeah, so you can buy as many GPUs as are available at this time, because I'm told that they're pretty difficult to get by.
It is.
But I mean, if you can set up either one GPU in your gaming PC, mine Vertcoin with it, or set up 50 of those GPUs in dedicated rigs, you'll usually earn 50 times as much. It's really it scales very easily. Yeah. But the difference with the ASIC hardware is that there's limited economy of scale. So, I mean, if you want to buy 50 GPUs, it's not likely that you'll get a 50% discount at NVIDIA. Right. You'll just pay 50 times, 800, 900, whatever dollars they cost. So, at scale, you would probably profit from energy purchase would be efficient. But apart from that, it's easy to obtain the GPU if they're in stock. But, normally they would be. But you can, you can put, 6 to 12 GPUs in a dedicated rig. Mine Vertcoin with that. Yeah. Cool.
Actually, since we sent you the questions, and which was just a few days, it was maybe less than a week ago, I think, there's been talk from the Bitcoin core community about changing away from the classic proof of work algorithm. Cobra, who's one of the main developer, he's the founder of Bitcoin Talk, I believe he's the founder of. Started talking about Bitcoin getting away from proof of work mining altogether, create some new thing. So it seems like that's something that Bitcoin is also, they're worried about the centralization of mining because of, basically Bitmain controlling a massive amount of the hashing power. Why, in your opinion, is that a big problem? Like, does it matter that there's only two major Bitcoin pools? And what is the threat there? What is the mining threat that Vertcoin's trying to get away from?
Well, there's two major things. So there's the threat that if the mining is actually centralized and large miners have control over the majority of the hash rate or a large quantity of the hash rate, you get the situation that we saw earlier in the scaling debate, that they can keep the network hostage by saying, we're going to move our hash rate to the chain that we choose, because we don't like the new rules that you want to implement, and therefore they can withhold technological progress. Whereas in the GPU mining, that's still a possibility. So there can still be large dedicated mining facilities having a lot of GPUs. I mean, they exist. They are usually mining Ethereum, I think, at the moment. But it's possible for large quantities of people to resist that, whereas in Bitcoin, the producer of those ASIC hardware is actually the one trying to manipulate the network. So if he's not going to sell those machines to people trying to block his operation. So I can understand the thought behind moving away from proof of work, in the sense that in the setup that Bitcoin has, the mining centralization is posing a problem to them. It's posing a threat to their existence, and that's why they're thinking of other solutions. Yet to find one, by the way. But
I'm not a fan of proof of stake. I understand the benefits of some of it, but I feel like proof of work is still probably the best way to manage a a network in general. And Vertcoin itself is proof of work. It's just GPU specific. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things going on with the proof of work in Vertcoin. So if you compare it to Bitcoin, the algorithm itself works well on GPUs and not so well on CPUs.
Okay.
That is to prevent like large botnets from mining it.
Right.
So the difference between a GPU and a CPU is so big that even botnets won't really help you. And there is no specific chip to mine our algorithm, but it's not impossible to make one.
Right.
So there's other things in place. One of them is that we openly pledge to fork our chain if an ASIC appears on the network. We've been saying that for years. We've actually done it twice. So that sort of takes away the possibility for a hardware producer to build such a chip, because if you do and you succeed, you've invested, well, we calculated roughly about $1 million. Wow. Even if you would mine all of the Vertcoins, so you would have, the majority of the hash rate, you would still take around 40 to 60 days to recoup your investment. So if we don't, if we find out about it and we fork away, it's a big gamble to build that kind of hardware.
That's cool.
And, also our community also, we have a large community that also feels those same decentralization values, which would mean that if we would fork, the majority of the network would also follow us. Yeah. So that, gives us a pretty good feeling about, the decentralization of the mining. And there's one other thing that differs from Bitcoin, and that's the fact that our proof of work difficulty adjusts every block, which is important in the sense that if a large hash rate jumps on or off, which can happen, if our exchange rate suddenly surges to a high level, then people want to mine Vertcoin because it's worth a lot of money. Right. And then, once it goes down again, which for some reason it always does, then people jump off. And what you've seen over the summer with Bitcoin is that people switching from Bitcoin Cash to Bitcoin and back made Bitcoin sometimes hold for like an hour or even two. Sure. And that's very risky. And, with Vertcoin, apart from some fluctuations, that 2.5 minutes is really happening most of the blocks.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. In preparation for this interview, I have bought Vertcoin in the past. I've made good trades on it. I like Vertcoin conceptually. I did a little bit of research preparing for this interview, and I noticed Vertcoin seems to have like all of the major hot button check boxes that you want checked. You've got SegWit activated, you got Lightning ready to go, atomic swaps ready to go, this one-click mining coming up. Like, I'm looking at this and saying like, well, Vertcoin's sitting at something like $4 today, and asking myself, why isn't Vertcoin, bigger? Basically, it seems like it has all these pluses. Like, Bitcoin's been promising us Lightning Network for almost 2 years now. Litecoin allegedly has it, but I don't know that there's a lot of Lightning transactions happening on the Litecoin network outside of, the key, like, hey, we did it once and it worked. Yeah. And so I look at Vertcoin and I'm like, man, this coin's really got a lot going for it. Why isn't it being talked about a lot? So what do you think would make Vertcoin more ubiquitous or more popular, and by extension of that, what do you think would bring it higher up in market cap and bring Vertcoin's value up? What would that be in your opinion?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things that happened over the last couple months. One of them, obviously, the huge Bitcoin correction that we saw in January. That was, beyond anything. And it's impossible to consider Vertcoin not being affected by something like that. So, we just went with the flow, the downward flow in that case.
Yeah.
But, there's a couple of things that I think are important for Vertcoin's value. And that is, the number of ways and the ease that you can obtain it, and the number of ways that you can use it and spend it. Sure. And what we've seen in, I'm not sure if it was December or January, but, Bittrex closed shop. So they did not accept any new customers. And they were the major exchange where Vertcoin was trading. So, that brought our volume down tremendously. And that's obviously not good news. So they're slowly opening up again. We managed to open a couple more exchanges, over the course of January, but not the largest exchanges. And we raised a decent amount of money from our community to, because there's like 1,500 to 2,000 coins going around, either being developed or are already out in the open. And there's 20, 30 exchanges. And they know that there's well-funded projects wanting to get on their exchange. And that's just, the economy of that exchanges market is not in our favor at the moment because, we're a community-funded coin. Everything that we do that we can't do ourselves, and obviously listing on an exchange is one of them. We have to rely on our donations, the money that our community gives to us, and they're very generous. But exchanges want a lot of money to list your token, what they call it. So somehow coins came out of the equation. It's tokens now. Everything's tokens.
Interesting.
So we're talking to a lot of the major exchanges, if not all of them, on and off. But we're really looking for, how much volume does the exchange bring? What's the price that they want us to pay? Is that worthwhile? And, we just, we pursue getting us on more exchanges to also be less dependent on, if Bittrex decides to close shop again or another large exchange where we list, it's just too risky to get your primary on-ramp closed.
Sure.
And another thing is, the usability. So having places to spend your Vertcoin and being able to, use it on your cell phone. And that's currently not possible. There's the Coinomi wallet on Android that you can use for Vertcoin. But we've been, working on getting our mobile wallet in the App Store, which is difficult somehow.
Right.
We're working on it. But the wallet works. It's just getting it in the App Store.
Yeah, I know Apple's notoriously.
Unfortunately.
Apple's notoriously difficult to work with on cryptocurrency apps.
Yeah. So, it's not the end of the world, but we're working on it and we're trying to jump through the hoops.
Sure.
But we're working on the next wallet. So the Vert wallet that was going into the App Store is sort of the in-between solution for iOS users.
Okay.
But we're working on a wallet that should be multi-platform and is actually meant to be Lightning first. So it's a Lightning wallet.
Cool.
You should be able to, create channels, send money over the channels, closing, opening the channels without even thinking about it. So it has to be, you have to understand how to work with Lightning without the concept of channels and opening and closing. It's just too complex. So we have to get to that level of just works that your Visa card has. So you just go to the store, you swipe it, and you pay it. And if you want to use Vertcoin in a store right now, I don't see the same people that can use their Visa card using Vertcoin. So we have to solve that, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the first steps would be to have a Lightning-based mobile wallet that can also, the same technology can also be used in point-of-sale devices for merchants to easily accept. Right. And obviously the Lightning will make sure that it's instant. That's the concept of blockchain payments in store is just not working.
Yeah, no, it's key.
That's where Lightning is needed, and we're building our wallet based on Lit. So that's the Lightning implementation that they're working on over at MIT. It's one of the 4 Lightning implementations, and so we want to base our wallet on that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of Lightning, and I mentioned SegWit earlier, when I speak to Litecoin people, Litecoin always talk about how Litecoin exists to kind of complement the Bitcoin ecosystem. And then Bitcoin developers talk about all altcoins just kind of exist to come up with ideas that will ultimately become Bitcoin's ideas. Do you see Vertcoin as a competitor to the other cryptocurrencies, or do you see it as a competitor to Bitcoin, or do you see Vertcoin as just another coin that can survive for years or maybe decades? Is Vertcoin going to go alongside Bitcoin or some other coin forever, or do you see an ultimate singular, quote unquote, winner coming out of the space eventually?
Yeah, I think at this point it's really too early to tell. So there's a number of projects that are pursuing different avenues of becoming, the de facto crypto payment currency. And Vertcoin, just as Bitcoin and Litecoin, is a fast and secure currency. Bitcoin became a lot faster now that the mempool cleared, by the way. But our difference is the decentralization and the fact that we, the essential belief that money is something that belongs to the people using it. And Vertcoin is a currency system that can facilitate that, because anyone, you can go to your local hardware store, you can buy a GPU, and you can start helping secure the network. Right. And reap the rewards in exchange in the form of Vertcoin that you can then use to buy or whatever. Right. Whereas, the current financial system or, largely centralized cryptocurrencies have sort of a unfair advantage to a few elite people that are controlling the majority of the network. And then it doesn't feel like the currency is really yours. So that's sort of the idea behind Vertcoin that's different from other cryptocurrencies. And whether that will be the only one surviving in the end, well, ask me again in 10 years. Maybe I have the answer.
Cool. We'll have you back 10 years from today. We'll talk about it.
I'll put it in my calendar.
Sounds good. So then what does success look like for Vertcoin short term? Like, what do you want to see Vertcoin do in the next 6 to 12 months? And then what does long-term success look like to you for Vertcoin?
Yeah, so I think if you look at the next 6 to 12 months, the most important thing for us is our new wallet. So to make sure that the Lightning network becomes stable, that you can put actual money in it and you can use it to, send funds to other people instantly. We have an important part of the AMD miner. So currently, if you want to mine Vertcoin, you have to use an NVIDIA GPU because the AMD miner is very slow. Okay. It's just not optimized the way that the NVIDIA miner is. Sure. And so we expect that to be released in the coming months. We're really close, but it's software, so it's difficult. Something can pop up that can. It already happened. We promised it for December, and then we had to start over. So that's how software goes. Yeah. But we're also currently working towards setting up the Vertcoin Foundation. So that's an official entity that can own things for Vertcoin. Right now, it's all either one of the development team members owns something, but we don't have a developer account or a code signing certificate or even the funds in the donated funds for the development. It's not owned by Vertcoin because Vertcoin doesn't legally exist.
Sure. Okay.
So we're trying to fix that by setting up the foundation, and that's also coming to a realization somewhere in the next 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
If we talk long term, I think the important part for us is that we realize a decentralized currency that can be both secured and used by anyone. It should be possible to accept Vertcoin as a form of payment without investing in, expensive equipment or having somebody take 2 to 4% of every purchase that's done in your store. That's not what we want. We think that money should be something of the people. And, all the ingredients are there for Vertcoin to become that. It takes some time to realize all the ideas that we have. And,
absolutely. Speaking of good ideas, one of the things on your website is one-click mining, and then it's a little bit like it just says that, and it sounds awesome. I would love to do some one-click mining myself, but I'm not sure what that means. So what does that look like exactly? What do you see the user, or what do you want the user experience to be with one-click mining? What does that mean exactly?
All right. So if you go back some time, you might remember that mining used to be something very difficult. If you're not really tech savvy, then it's hard to set up. You had to download the software from all these sites, sometimes even compile it yourself. So that's really not user friendly. So what we did, and it's actually already available. So if you have a machine with a decent GPU, you can be mining Vertcoin tonight if you want.
Cool.
So the user experience is actually in the title. So you download the one-click miner, you paste in your Vertcoin address where you want the proceeds of mining to go, and there's a big button called Start. You push it, and that's it.
Well, then I can be one of the. I can be a super tech savvy guy that mines cryptocurrency that way. That's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, it's very cool. So changing gears a little bit, Vertbase, in my opinion, obviously named to kind of compete with Coinbase, perhaps. Is that associated with the Vertcoin developers, or is that a different group of people, or what is Vertbase exactly?
Yeah, so Vertbase is an initiative of one of our community members who got in touch with Vertcoin, I think, about half a year ago. And he noticed that it's quite difficult to on-ramp onto Vertcoin. So the first user experience of Vertcoin, if you want to obtain it, is, not very good, to be honest. So you go to Coinbase or to any other fiat exchange, and you buy Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum or anything that can be bought directly for your dollars.
Sure.
And then you send it to another exchange, and then there you sell it for Bitcoin, and then you can buy Vertcoin, and then you send it to your wallet or whatever you want to do with it. Yeah. So that's a pretty complex process. I actually tried to explain it to my family, and they were lost. They said, "You do it for us. Just tell me what it costs, and I'll pay you." So Justin is the name of the guy that's launched the Vertbase initiative. So Justin said that this should be easier. It should be possible for somebody to just buy Vertcoin with dollars, and there's a lot of complexity involved. You have to get licenses, and you have to get banking agreements, and there's a lot of things going on, and it's not something that the Vertcoin development team does themselves, so it's really separate. but we do try to get in touch with Justin and have Justin in touch with our community to let them know about the progress and what he's doing. And we did a very elaborate Q&A session with him to look at the questions that are in our community about Vertbase, because it sounds like a very interesting plan, very ambitious.
Yeah.
But it's something that you have to really give it your all. It's something that you have to focus on. And we're a 10-person team in the Vertcoin development team, and it's just not something that we can do on the side. That would certainly be misery. So Justin is doing his best. He has a team composed that are working on Vertbase right now, and we wish him the best of luck. And it would be a tremendous achievement to get a fiat exchange for Vertcoin. Yeah. And it would obviously be very useful for us to onboard new users by having them buy Vertcoin directly for dollars. That would be so great. So
yeah, I agree. Yeah. Do you know if there are plans with Vertbase? Is it going to be just fiat to Vertbase, or to Vertcoin rather, or is it going to be, will he sell Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, or whatever else? Do you know?
From what I understood from the Q&A is that their first priority obviously is dollar to Vertcoin. Yeah. Then if they look to expand internationally, it's possible that there will be other fiat pairings to Vertcoin. So there might be, euros or yens or whatever. Okay. If they would carry altcoins, other coins than Vertcoin, that is, sure. They would trade against Vertcoin. At least that's what I understood from it.
Cool.
So, their primary goal, at least, what they communicated as one of the things that they want to do is to increase the value of Vertcoin. They want to contribute something to the Vertcoin community, and setting up $1 to Litecoin or $1 to Ethereum exchange, it doesn't help us. So yeah, it's fine if it's needed for him to pay his bills. Or we can't stop him, but what he aims to do is to give back to the Vertcoin community. Sure. And $1 to Vertcoin exchange would be a big gift to the community, I'm sure.
Yeah, I agree. That's very cool. You mentioned a little earlier that you're working on some other exchange implementations for Vertcoin. What exchanges are you actively trying to get Vertcoin onto at the moment, or is it more conceptual, or are you working to get Vertcoin on more exchanges as we speak?
So we're talking to actual exchanges about listing Vertcoin. But especially the larger exchanges, they tend to have non-disclosure agreements. So it's also to prevent marketing initiatives saying we're talking to this and this exchange. It can get the community all excited for nothing because we don't even know what exchanges we're going to be on. There are no agreements made. But it's clear that we have sort of a war chest that's donated by our community, so we can use that to pursue exchanges, and we're doing that. It's just there's nothing definitive yet.
Okay, cool. Do you see Vertcoin? A lot of people talk about, especially over the last year and a half or so, that Bitcoin is too valuable to spend. You should just hold your Bitcoin. That until cryptocurrency becomes an absolute means of exchange in the economy, that it's silly to spend your Bitcoin or whatever other cryptocurrency you have. Do you see Vertcoin right now primarily as an investment that you should hold on to or trade, or do you want to see people actively trying to use Vertcoin as a means of exchange now? Should people be pursuing ways to spend and to accept Vertcoin today?
Well, I think it's a bit of both, obviously. So the thing that gives Vertcoin its value being, a currency is the fact that you can spend it somewhere. So if the only thing you can do is buy it, put it on your ledger, and then keep it there, then at some point you're going to wonder what gives this value. I mean, what's the point of having this on my ledger? So by introducing new ways of spending your Vertcoin, it will also become more valuable as a currency. Whether it's a good investment, that's a whole different question, obviously.
Sure.
So the utility, in my perspective, the utility of Vertcoin will give it value, fundamental value. Whether the markets will agree with that, especially given the things that happened the last, 30 days, I think. Things have been a real roller coaster. So it's difficult to project how that will progress over time.
Yeah.
But our focus as a development team is also to increase the utility of Vertcoin to make sure that it's the currency that we want to be, so that you can go into Starbucks and buy your coffee with Vertcoin. That's obviously something that you would want, that would give the currency value.
Right. A question that just occurred to me, I talk to developers kind of casually, but I don't really talk to them a lot about markets, because they're typically uncomfortable talking about markets, because you're not a currency trader, you're a programmer. But I feel like a lot of programmers also have kind of a philosophical, economist in them somewhere, that they care about the function of money. At Vertcoin, are you guys having regular conversations about the market and stuff, or do you guys kind of tune out the market and work on utility, or is it a mix? Do you guys care what the price of Vertcoin is right now, or does it not matter?
Well, I don't think we really care that deeply about what the value on the market is, because it's just it's temporary. The value of today is never the value of tomorrow. So we don't worry about the value, especially given the fact that most of us are in Vertcoin from an ideological perspective, and not so much as as an investment.
Right.
Our goal is also very long term. So if you say to yourself, look, I'm working on this project, on this currency that I want to succeed, and I look at this with an horizon of 3 to 5 years, or maybe even 5 to 10 years, then the fact that it's either half or double its value tomorrow or next week or next month, it doesn't bother us that much. What we do see is obviously, there's a lot of investors in the cryptocurrency space that are only here for, not that long, that haven't really been seasoned with the ups and downs. And there's always somebody that bought your currency at the highest possible price. They're going to have a certain opinion about what happened after that, and how that could have been avoided, which it couldn't, but so what you do see is that there's sort of what you say, the sentiment within the community is affected by what happens with the price, obviously, and that's sometimes something that we have to deal with.
Right.
But it's not something that we lie awake at night. If your horizon is that long, then these short-term fluctuations, especially if you've been in the cryptocurrency world for longer than a couple of months, then that it goes up, it goes down. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. So
for sure, very cool. Does Vertcoin have any retailers that accept Vertcoin natively today, or no?
Well, natively is it depends on what you mean by natively. So if retailers would have accepted cryptocurrency natively for the Christmas shopping, they would probably, if they would have kept it, they would have been out of business at the end of January.
Sure.
Because everything that they buy is still in dollars or in, rubles, euros, whatever.
Right.
So in the end, what happens with people that accept cryptocurrencies is that they convert it into their native currency in the end, which is dollars or whatever. So there's this site, coinpayments.net, that it's similar to like BitPay, for instance, but they carry a whole range of cryptocurrencies, amongst which they also carry Vertcoin. And they have like a merchant section on their website where you can see where you can spend Vertcoin, and it's, hosting, electronics, games, clothes. There's some shops that support it. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. Is there one big thing that you wish that you could change about Vertcoin's perception? Is there something that gets repeated that you wish wasn't the case, or what would be one thing that you've heard about Vertcoin's reputation that you feel is not true, or that you could change? If you could set the record straight here, what would that be?
Well, I think I'm not sure if it's something that's misperceived throughout the entire ecosystem of the cryptocurrencies, but I think sometimes people forget or are not aware of the fact that Vertcoin is fully community funded. So there's been no ICO. Actually, the term ICO didn't even exist when Vertcoin was first founded. There was no pre-mining. We don't hold large amounts of Vertcoin. The only thing that we have is what the community gives to us. Yeah. And we don't spend it on paying ourselves. So all of the Vertcoin developers work for free in our spare time, just because we believe in the cause. We all have the same idea and ideology about this decentralized currency. And sometimes, on Reddit or on Twitter or somewhere, you read that, these guys, they pocket a lot of these donations themselves. Yeah. And, you're not working for nothing, because if the coin increase in value, then you. Right. But that's not how it works. I mean, obviously, all of us, we have some Vertcoin that we bought ourselves from our own money. But I mean, we're not trading it on a day-to-day basis. So, if it goes down, we make negative income. I mean, so that argument doesn't work. It's you have to look at the development team of Vertcoin as a bunch of volunteer idiots that just believe in this same end goal of making it a decentralized currency used worldwide. And, we'll keep at it as long as it takes.
I think that's awesome, actually. I've always been a fan of the noble developer. Like, you're there for philosophical reasons. It makes it hard to criticize. Like, even if I were to disagree on a technological level or something, I say, you know what? Like, this guy's, he's not screwing me out of my money or something. But I wonder, is that also potentially a limitation compared to, like Dash, for example? They have a certain amount of their fee that goes to marketing Dash, and therefore there's all kinds of stuff in the universe sponsored by Dash, and and whether or not they deserve, Dash is a Litecoin fork, and so is Vertcoin, and Dash is everywhere on everything, and Vertcoin is not at the moment. But what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses compared to that?
Well, I mean, it's what I think is, I mean, we actually had this discussion with our community that, we currently rely on voluntary donations. So, we ask people for money and they either give it or they don't. Sure. But if you impose on your community to say, look, this is the currency that we have, but, 2 to 4% of everything that's brought into existence belongs to us. Right. And we use it for the good of the coin. Well, obviously, that's a way of skipping that funding problem that we have. Yeah. But there's just a difference of opinion. I mean, it's also a way to gain that money that you need. But what I found from our community, at least, is that if we really have something that we need money for, and we explain to our community, look, this is what's happening. We see bid tracks closing. We need new outlets for VTC to be, exchanged. So we need some money to buy an exchange listing. And the amount of energy that's releasing then, and people that are, on Reddit trying to persuade other people to, I donated, so you should donate as well. We're in this together. Yeah, that, gives this warm, fuzzy feeling that, you're really doing it together with the community instead of, saying, okay, these are the rules of the game. This is the amount of money that we get to, advance the coin. Because I wouldn't even know what we would do if we would get 2% or 4% of all of the currency that's brought into existence. We're having trouble spending the money that we have already. So we have a number of funds that people can donate to, and some of them are obviously spent on monthly hosting and whatnot. But there's also marketing funds that we have difficulty spending because we're also very cautious with spending. That's the other side. If you have money in abundance, then then it's the other way around.
Right. Well, it's very cool. I think it's commendable. I think you're actually setting a really good example in the community. So, kudos on that. Matt, you've been monitoring the Facebook questions and stuff. Is there any pressing questions popping up on Facebook?
I think you did hit a lot of people's questions already regarding Vertcoin, Vertbase, different exchanges. We did have one question. I was wondering if the dev team is considering making a payment service dedicated to Vertcoin like LitePay has for Litecoin in the future.
Yeah, so that's a good question, actually. But I think it aligns a little bit with what we discussed about the exchange and the reason that the exchange is not something that the Vertcoin development team is doing. I would consider the development team providing you with the tools to accept Vertcoin as a merchant. There's actually this initiative from the developer of NBitcoin. I don't know if you, Nicholas something. And he actually built like a BitPay kind of service that you can self-host. So if you want to accept Vertcoin, you can install it on your server. If you want to accept Bitcoin, I have to say. We're still figuring out if we can fork in Vertcoin support. But that would be more comfortable to our dev team to say, we provide the tools, and if there's somebody that wants to become a service provider, host the software for you, and just deposit the dollars in your bank account, by all means. I mean, if we provide the tools, then they can do it. If we're going to do that ourselves, it seems like an operation that you need a lot of staff, support staff, banking licenses, and that's just not what we feel our energy should go to.
Yeah, I would agree. It's interesting. Like one of the conversations we've been having, about like LitePay, for example, I'm a big fan of, as much or as many of the things that you can decentralize, I believe that you should. And then when you create a payment system like that, then you're innately centralizing it to the card processor, that kind of thing. It's actually been a criticism, the Bitcoin Cash people talk about with Lightning Network is that, well, then we'd be pushing transactions into this second layer, which is centralized. Now, I'm not a developer, so I can't really speak to that from a technological level. I'm curious for your feedback on that, on Lightning Network being a a vector of centralization, or what do you think of that concept?
Well, what I understood from their feedback, I'll just call it feedback, on the Lightning Network is, Lightning Network conceptually is a one peer to one peer connection. So if you open a channel, it's with one person. If you introduce the concept of hops, then you can use your connection to somebody else to pay a third party that you don't have a connection with. Yeah. Now, it's possible that in the early days of Lightning Network, there will evolve people that have a lot of connections that will be interesting to connect with, because as soon as you connect with them, you connect to all the people that they're connected to. Sure. So there's a possibility of, larger hubs forming because you also need funds. You have to actually deposit funds into channels, so it's not something that you would do, as a hobby. But it's possible that there will be some form of I won't call it centralization, but it's not. I mean, it's decentral versus distributed. So it's it's not like everybody's connected to everybody, because that would also be expensive. I mean, if I want to use Lightning Network to pay at Starbucks, but I have to first pre-fund a channel to Starbucks before I go there, I would prefer funding a channel to somebody that has a connection to Starbucks and all the restaurants I go to, and so. That's where I think it's still decentral, but it's not distributed. So I think they're misunderstanding centralization versus, distributed versus decentralized.
Okay, sure.
There's always there will always be larger and smaller nodes in the Lightning Network, but, that's the case with blockchain as well.
Cool. Is there anything we've missed, or any shout outs? Do you need to say hi to your wife or anybody here before we close down? Or
so if I say hi to her, she can see it on YouTube.
Sounds good. So any closing remarks?
I mean, we covered so much, so I can't think of anything that we missed.
Okay, great. Well, I just want to thank you from myself personally and from Crypto Traders Pro. We really appreciate you taking the time. I know it's got to be almost 1 a.m. for you in the Netherlands, and
yes, it is.
It means a lot for you to make the time for us, and we really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
For sure. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.